Hello again everybody, and continuing with the theme of letters, today we've got another one from Seneca, this time on his experience of going to a gladiatorial show. Now the popular image nowadays of gladiatorial shows is based a lot on Hollywood and TV portrayals of rather glamorous contests, sense of honour in brotherhood, one-on-one combats, appealing to the crowd for who's going to live and who's going to die, or sometimes on recreated historical contests. Now some of all of that is true, or partly true, but it all views gladiatorial contests through the prism of the modern lens. Some of the brutality of it comes through in, say, Stanley Kubrick's Spartacus film, certainly in the ultra-violent, slow-motion blood spattering of Spartacus, Blood and Sand, maybe not so much in Ridley Scott's Gladiator, marvellous though that film is in many ways. What gets much less interest on screen is the effect on the spectators, which is where I'm going to explore through this letter of Seneca. And it's, instead of being through the prism of the lens, the modern lens, this is going to be through the prism of the words of the first century philosopher and teacher and intellectual. So he's talking about the moral questions. He's raising the moral questions of what happens in gladiatorial shows, and in particular one part of a gladiatorial show. So he talks about what goes on in the morning and suggests what's going to come in the afternoon. But here he's really pointing us towards what happens in the middle part of the gladiatorial show day. And this is the fighters who were called colloquially the meridiani, the midday men. It was more or less just a bloody and slightly slow execution, but for the benefit of spectators. It reduces the human experience to its lowest. This is where we must ask, along with Seneca, what is meant really by Roman civilization. It also raises the question for us about how far we have come from that when we hear the voice of the vigilante demanding justice, the demand for an eye for an eye retribution, and the siren cry which we nowadays hear for the people's justice. Anyway, this is what Seneca had to say in his moral epistles. So he's writing in the 1st century AD about the midday of a gladiatorial show. I chanced to stop in at a midday show, expecting fun, wit, and some relaxation, when men's eyes take respite from the slaughter of their fellow men. It was just the reverse. The preceding combats were merciful by comparison. Now all trifling is put aside and it is pure murder. The men have no protective covering. Their entire bodies are exposed to the blows, and no blow is ever struck in vain. In the morning men are thrown to the lions and the bears. At noon they are thrown to the spectators. The spectators call for the slayer to be thrown to those who in turn will slay him, and they detain the victor for another butchering. The outcome for the combatants is death. The fight is waged with sword and fire. This goes on while the arena is free, in other words, between the morning and the afternoon scheduled fights. But one of them was a highway robber. He killed a man. Because he killed, he deserved to suffer this punishment. Granted, says Seneca. Kill him, lash him, burn him. Why does he meet the sword so timidly? Why doesn't he kill boldly? Why doesn't he die gamely? Whip him to meet his wounds. Let them trade blow for blow, chests bare and within reach. And when the show stops for an intermission, let's have men killed meanwhile. Let's not have nothing going on. I wonder how far we've come from the degradation of that kind of show.